Greetings to all of you. I'm Madhu Reddy. I'm here on behalf of Anek Dhara, which is a public policy portal and a platform which provides space for discussions on all matters and ideas which affect the lives of the people in our country. I welcome you all to this webinar on behalf of the team here. I welcome all the participants who have tuned in to this third webinar of Anek Dhara. As most of you may know, this is the third. The first and the second were on Nehruvian legacy and Gandhian nationalism. For the third webinar, we had elected to turn towards an equally great thinker and a second to none maker of modern India, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar, whose ideas and writings, in the words of Professor Sunil Khilnani, constitute, as he says, I quote, one of the most consequential pieces of polemical scholarship of his times. In their combination of subtle analysis and raw, angry political expression, many passages remind me of the Italian Marxist Antonio Gramsci. But Ambedkar's political ideas, unlike Gramsci's, would survive him in the code of law, unquote. As Professor Khilnani lucidly states for us, understand, firstly, Dr. Ambedkar's ideas were consequential. His ideas survived through the Indian Constitution. His ideas have survived through the millions of lives to whom he has brought a change, and his ideas, and he survives through the vision, his own vision of the total destruction of caste system. Just as our team, we were contemplating on this webinar of Ambedkar, the film Jai Bhim, which was released on OTT, set off ripples by joining the league of films like Godfather and Shawshank Redemption in terms of the rating levels. I mean, it matched those, and so we said that this is something to notice. Uh, we all are aware of the old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I would like to venture and say that a motion picture, and a good quality motion picture, may be worth 1,000,000 words. And by depicting the story of the tragic story of Raja Kannu and the grit and the resolve of Senganni and the legal acumen and the committed, progressive commitment displayed by lawyer Chandru, this was a story which was were told very poignantly, a story which is representative of the social reality. And we decided that we should kind of combine this story with our discussion on Dr. Ambedkar. So, to cover this bold melange of the theme, we have three speakers today with us, all of them eminently suited to speak on this theme, and all of them highly accomplished in their respective domains. Thiru T J Gnanavel, the writer and director of the film Jai Bhim, Dr. Nissim Mannathukkaren, Associate Professor, International Development Studies, Dalhousie University, Canada, and Dr. Kalpana Kannabiran, Distinguished Professor, Council for Social Development, India. So we have this team to speak on this topic today. After the three speakers finish their addresses, we will have a question and answer session. So even as the webinar is in progress, I request all the participants to post their questions on the YouTube chat box along with their identity. The questions will be taken up later, immediately after the speakers complete their address, all three of them. So I now have the privilege of introducing our first speaker, Thiru T J Gnanavel. Thiru Gnanavel, as all of you know, is a film director and a writer, predominantly working in the Tamil film industry. But he is today very famous for, he is the writer and director of the film Jai Bhim, which was released in 2021. He is, apart from Jai Bhim, he has been part of the core team which made films like Payanam and Dhoni, not the MS Dhoni film, but a different film, I guess. And he made his directorial debut in 2017 with Kootathil Oruthan, a film for which he also wrote the story, screenplay, and dialogues. I think most of you may know his credentials in the film industry, but probably very few know of his scholarship and activism, which is very little advertised. He did his master's degree and his PhD in the history of Tamil literature in the Madras University, and then he worked for 7 years as a journalist in Ananda Vikatan. Apart from this, he has been a social activist. He worked for 5 years as a whole timer for the Gagarin Foundation, an NGO for educating children. We truly have a committed scholar, an activist, and a filmmaker as our first speaker today to speak on inspiration in making of Jai Bhim and its contemporary relevance. I now request Dr. Gnanavel to address the webinar. Please come in, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madhu, sir. Thank you all, and respected all intellectuals and guests and Anek Dhara team, everybody. It's a good evening to all. I'm happy to participate all those this kind of the policy making kind of webinar. I'm sure that I'm not take much time. Another 7 to 10 minutes, I will finish my thoughts and opinion about this topic. The Jai Bhim, it is not just a word. That each and every slogan, not a just word. It's more relevant today. It's a Gandhi death anniversary. Jai Shri Ram, that word is very popular in today days. But Gandhi's last word is Jai Shri Ram, I think so. Now we are talking about Jai Bhim here. That's both are very, very relevant today, I think. I already told that each and every slogan is not just a word. It is lead the protest. It is lead that freedom, and it lead that every progressive attempt. So that people always raise the slogans. So Jai Bhim also one of the slogan that I want to share you that why I chose this title for that movie. Some friends, press, the media people asked me to. This is left lawyer, left ideology lawyer fight for justice for tribal women. Why don't you put that Lal Salam? Maybe it's the right title, right? Why you put the Jai Bhim? That is this long discussions we made that the Jai Bhim is not. I already thought it is not just a word. It is suppressed people's slogan. Suppressed people, it's a freedom power it will generate the freedom of power. So we are not just give that any commercial film name, all those things. If you not justified that topic in that movie, that it will go against the movie that we know very well. And more or less, if you put the Jai Bhim in title, that means you come to the umbrella for that particular community you are representing. That is not good for the movie. That people, the well-wishers people, to advise to me that is it okay to this title? Because if you put that this title, definitely you are come under that you are identified through that some particular people. This movie is not particular about things. It's a social justice movie. Why don't you shrink that meaning? I thought it is not shrink. It is liberal. This title to liberate that movie concept. That's why I'm going to choose. I told that my friends how it is relevant to that movie means. That here that first I thought this word, this thing is that in Parliament last Parliament elections, as the first assembly, that the people MP member of the Parliament get the vote in that time. That OIC, I think is when he took a vote in that time, that particular party members raised that slogan is Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. In that time, he replied to them Jai Bhim in that time. Okay, so this moment is to strike to me. That is one slogan that answer for the another slogan. So that if you do something for suppress people, that slogan is the very important thing. In Jai Bhim is not popular in Tamil Nadu. This another topic also we discussed. Jai Bhim in North India, the Jai Hind and the Jai Bhim is the parallel things. Everybody say Jai Hind or Jai Hind, Jai Bhim, all those things. In Tamil Nadu, even Dalit activities and Dalit movement is here also, but it is in Tamil language or Tamil Nadu, not take other slogans or those things easily. Even that the Jai Shri Ram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, that slogans not popular here. Maybe in freedom times, the Vande Mataram is that some kind of acceptance is there, not much all slogans here. In Jai Bhim also here like that only. The people said it is not popular things. I asked many people here, especially in youngsters, you know about what is Jai Bhim. So many people don't know about that. And some people said they are at least minimum, they are civil service level or advocate level people say, oh, it is Ambedkar slogan. So this is the here. So it is not popular, although why are give that title for that movie. So I said I'm very much convinced one thing, that is I discussed that thing in movie also. Ambedkar not just it's the constitution give the rights. That's why I'm speaking. That's why that is my strength of today, which is constitution give that rights. So that who make the constitution, that leader name I can't pronounce, that in school function, all those things. That's a weird thing to me. So in that in college days and school days, I think about it, and I'll give that one montage in that movie also. Chandru character will ask that one fancy dress comes. It's its own song montage. That itself, I can include that. So here, that why Lal Salam not fit for this movie, because the Chandru, the Communist Party, the CPM is the initiate this the take that issue for Raja Kannu case, and the Chandru fight for that the High Court for the justice. So that Lal Salam is the fit for this. Even Lal Salam also not popular slogan here. As a Tamil student and linguistic interest persons, I won't agree that another in Tamil movie well true that the title, all those things. But I even though that thought I have, that this is not relevant for these things. This is social. I think it is social justice for Tamil land. So in social, I think you know all about the Periyar. Tamil Nadu is that land of social justice. That's how we identify in that even right now. So that in Ambedkar, that meaning many different meanings in that many places. If you go to the UP, that Jai Bhim is the power politics. In Maharashtra, it is it's a Buddhist life and pride that Ambedkar born there. So that place is more connect with things. In South, especially Tamil Nadu, Jai Bhim means, I think it is social justice slogan. That for tribal women fight for justice, the constitution give that habeas corpus is under the fundamental rights for our freedom. So even you can fight against government in police detention, all those things. that you can give that read for that habeas corpus. In the 2 weeks, two judges, senior judges, will hear that case. All those things have that this kind of fundamental rights for that one tribal woman also fit. So that is the Ambedkar vision. So that one tribal woman need justice. That constitution is the weapon. So I think it here in the land of Tamil Nadu, social justice of land, and even left ideology lawyer fight for one tribal woman. So that three color will that black, that usually this they, if you get that this title, we can use it, because I don't have any situations to use this. I don't want that forcefully to do that slogan. And only one area I mentioned, that the last slide of the movie, I put that what is mean by Jai Bhim. That all people that I think that one poem in Maharashtra, Marathi things, the translations I translate in translate version in Tamil, and in other language I put that English also. Jai Bhim means light, Jai Bhim means love, Jai Bhim means journey from darkness to light, Jai Bhim means to hears a billion of people. So I think it is very, very relevant even more today, yeah, because that everything is no diversity, and in that every in the entire India, what is that our country fight, everything is not only demolished other religious things. They are now it's demolishing our diversity, our unity, or everything. It's fundamental rights. Everything is going. So they're demolishing for that political reasons. So we should unite and we should fight for that. And already it happens. It is not a new thing. It's a long journey. Even that Jai Bhim River War race, that slogan where he raised. Ambedkar is it is against for other party elements. All those they are against you. The people, I think, if not recognized, that every effort will gone waste. So everything that fear all gone when the Jai Bhim trailer it's released. Even the trailer get that a huge response for all over India, and that's it. Now that globally also get that Jai Bhim word, that slogan, it's very popular. I'm happy for that people will ready to accept this kind of the powerful slogan, or the people accept for that what I say that progressive movement. We are so that progressive attempts, activities, everything that Jai Bhim is relevant today. That's what I think. That's why I put that name. So I want to share these thoughts for this webinar. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for taking us through the significance of the making of the film Jai Bhim. We were indeed privileged to listen to you here in this webinar today. And now I would like to request my friend Gagarin to take over and introduce the next speaker to all of us. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. Jai Bhim. Jai Bhim is a salutation of the people who dream of a casteless and fraternal democratic society, whether they work for it or not. Of course, here Dr. Gnanavel has certainly worked for it and continue to work for it. It is not exaggeration if we say Jai Bhim is akin to our lofty Upanishadic concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, given Dr. Ambedkar's absolute insistence on universal morals and sacred and equally applicable to all. Jai Bhim is a psychological. Jai Bhim is a psychological symbol for more than symbol for more than 50 crore Indians. Symbols are very powerful identificatory marks of a country or culture or community. Symbols can be physical, like national flag, or conceptual categories like karma. They can also be empowering agents like the Kaizen or enslaving evils like the caste. In fact, in the movie Raja Kannu, the tragic hero of the movie Jai Bhim is truly a lifesaver, risking his heartlessly they fix him up in a false case, and how steadfast Raja Kannu in not accepting the crime, even paying with his life. He has to literally do circus, that is what I am telling, while he was going to some place where he is supposed to save the people from a snake bite. How heartlessly they fix him up, and how steadfast he is so far as sticking on to his ideal, not to speak a lie. This is what very important. But at the same time, are the upper caste so heartless in treating all these so-called SC/STs as just mere pieces of charcoal to lit their chulas? The problem is they are not heartless. The problem with Indian society is they are brought up in such a way these particular people are less than animals, are less than humans, and worse than animal. That is the reason why they don't feel guilty in treating their fellow humans as dirt. If we have to progress, we must certainly not merely cherish the empowering concepts and customs, but discard the millstone like madness, this madness around our neck. Caste being infinitely inhuman, and the undoing of India, as eloquently picturized in the movie Jai Bhim, Dr. Nissim would like to dissect it, I think. Hence, University, Canada. His main research interests are focused on nationalism, development and democracy, left communist movements, modernity, the politics of popular culture, especially the politics of the media, cinema, and sport, and Marxist and post-colonial theories. He is the author of 2 books, including the recent one, Communism, Subaltern Studies, and the Post-Colonial Theory, The Left in the South India, published by Routledge. He has been an Erasmus Mundus visiting professor at the London School of Economics, Leipzig University, Germany, and University of Wroclaw, Poland, and Roskilde University, Denmark. He is a regular opinion writer for the English language press in India, and his articles have appeared in the Hindu, the Vaya, the Telegraph, the Indian Express, Outlook, Scroll, the Quaint, Deccan Chronicle, the Asian Age, Newsclick, the Citizen, Tehelka, Kafila, the Wall Street Journal, etc. Oh, very long list. His writings have been translated into Malayalam, Marathi, Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, Portuguese, German, and French. My goodness. We cannot find a better speaker than Dr. Nissim to speak on annihilation of caste and public culture. Over to you, sir, Professor.
Thank you very much. It is indeed my pleasure to be taking part in this. Thank the Anek Dhara team for hosting this. I think it's a very important venture. It should be carried forward in other public platforms. And I'm honored to be part of the team, which includes Professor Kannabiran and Dr. Gnanavel. And I congratulate Dr. Gnanavel for the wonderful film. And I think it's going to be a landmark in film and cinematic history. That's very obvious. I mean, untouchability, and so hundreds of restrictions which permeate the caste system, the hierarchical caste system. But what Ambedkar is getting at is a more powerful idea of the notion of caste, the consciousness of caste. And this is something that we should be talking about more in terms of changing the entire structure of caste. in order to annihilate caste in at some final point. And this is not being done enough. There's another quarter of his which Ambedkar makes, which gives us some inkling into what is the crisis that we are facing in Indian democracy for in the present at the time. He says, are you fit for political power, even though a class of your own countrymen, like the untouchables, are not allowed to use public schools, right? I mean, he's talking about the 1930s. But obviously, these things have changed. But there is such a kind of huge backlash against lower caste assertions. You read the newspapers across the country. Whenever they are trying to assert something, whenever trying to claim something which is rightfully theirs, whenever they're trying to on a couch, taking in a huge gush of scarce drinking water, while an emaciated man, general category, as it is called, upper caste, sits on the floor waiting for the droplets to fall, right? So this is how upper caste perceive the reservation system. I mean, Dr. Gnanavel was talking about the relevance of imageries, and you can see it. What is remarkable is that you get this over and over again across the popular cultural expressions of about caste, please. And it is remarkable and shocking to see that the privileged upper caste, who number around 15 to 20% in India, think that in popular culture are born. So these cartoons, I argue, perform an amazing act of sorcery in which the privileged, dominant, oppressor groups transform into victims. Only sorcery can enable us to understand the parameters of fairness and equity used to astoundingly equate the upper caste as victims when 50% of the government jobs it is promoting mediocrity and so on. And just imagine this, despite the much reviled reservation, elite higher education institutions are plagued by unfilled Bahujan student quotas and lack of Bahujan professors. For example, Dalit and Adivasi professors are merely 2.5% of the IITs and merely 1.5% of the IIM faculties. Of the 23 IITs, 15 do not even have scheduled tribe faculty. 12 have scheduled tribe faculty. 12 IIMs do not have any Dalit faculty, and 7 had no OBC faculty. So this is the case with other central universities too. So this is despite having reservation. This is something that we should understand, right? Despite having reservation, this is the situation. And in the largest survey, non-governmental survey conducted a few years back, 27% of people in the survey admitted to practicing some form of untouchability. 27% people in the survey, the largest non-governmental survey. And this ranges from around 50 to 55% of the people in the northern parts of India to as low as 2%. Right? So it is not just with caste, it is also with regard to race, although there would be differences and many similarities. So what I argue is that there is a colossal failure to acknowledge the psychological and material wages of caste, what we are accruing as privileged upper caste, because of the overwhelming domination in every sphere of society, barring, of course, to an extent in politics, because politics is where you need votes. So you have to acknowledge, lower caste, at least for the sake of votes. But in all other spheres, it is a staggering absence of Dalits and tribals, Adivasis, where there is no reservation, right? For example, in the powerful private corporate sector, the English language media, cricket, the most in here. So Dalits and marginalized castes are equally and shockingly excluded from this corporate sector, television, right? For example, a survey of 315 important decision makers in 37 Delhi-based media publications a few years ago, OBCs. And many people like to think that capitalism, if you bring in capitalism, everything will be solved. It is casteless. Capitalism is not casteless. Capitalism is the building up on the economic and cultural capital that existed before. So none of the billionaires of India, for example, are Dalit, right? I mean, he is Dalit. Or you would find very few lower castes in the entire hierarchy of the top richest corporate people in India. So we have to acknowledge this. The non-acknowledgement is the biggest barrier to the decimation of caste in society, and which leads to the victimization mentality of the upper caste. And I have worked on research in Canada with my colleagues about similar victimization mentality among the dominant white classes, right? Domination operates across various societies in similar fashion. Many people argue that the absence of Dalits, Adivasis in major spheres, like I pointed out, corporate sector, Bollywood cricket, etc., is a coincidence, right? They say it is a coincidence, or they would say it is, it is not willful. It is not something that has happened in a willful sense. Similar kinds of things have happened in white societies. For example, whites confronted with evidence of white racial privilege, while not denying it, claim that they did not benefit from it. This is another strategy. There might be a lack of presence of, say, African Americans or blacks or minority races, but it is not because we have benefited from it, and at least I personally or we personally have not benefited. So I argue that this is a misguided understanding of merit, and this misguided understanding of merit and a very conscious attempt to maintain caste domination combined, these two things are at the root of denying caste privilege. Of course, upper caste privilege does not mean that sections of the upper caste might be poor, economically deprived, right? And some of them are well into reform, and if it can't reform, you have to abolish it and construct a new religion. And then it goes on to Buddhism later on in his life, and so on and so forth. So individual character is not the question here. And that's why I say films like Jai Bhim, it's very important because of the fact it's not focused on the individual. It is talking about the structure, right? It is showing you the system. Like in the earlier, in the beginning shots, when the prisoners are segregated on the basis of caste. I'm not sure whether we have seen that on Indian films before, right? Across languages. Like anybody who is not exposed to that will be shocked, and they should be shocked. So the first step in confronting caste is to acknowledge this. Recently, there was a very interesting work done by the Wire journalist Sukanya Shanta, for example. Commendable work. She showed that in prisons across in India, the prisoners are allotted work on the basis of their caste. Imagine this. I don't think anybody knows this, right? She brought this to light. And apparently, I think if I'm not mistaken, Rajasthan High Court has ruled on this story and tried to do something about it. Isn't it a huge informal economy? 90%, 80 to 90%. Dalits cornering away all these jobs, the figment of imagination, is only about 3 to 4% of the jobs, right? I mean, it is nothing. The huge economy of 90% is not in the reserved category, right? There are millions and millions of people. The African Americans, for example, have similar histories of slavery and oppression like Dalits, and their condition is vastly inferior to the American white population, and racial domination still persists. But race in America has been bent in front of the resistance mounted by the oppressed black race, and at least a critical section of them has now accepted that this is something that cannot go on. And that is why, at least to an extent, you see black icons across popular culture, public sphere in America, the Muhammad Alis, the Michael Jordans, Tiger Woods, Carl Lewis, Michael Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, Denzel Washington, Serena Williams. The list is endless when it comes to popular cultural icons of African Americans across races in America, right? So that is a limited, and compared to India, a huge bring them to the public sphere, to the popular consciousness. Remember that the Dalit population in India, people don't understand this. To give you an example, Dalit population in India is about 20 crores. That is equivalent to the population of Brazil, right? I mean, if Dalits were a different country, it would be like the 5th or 6th largest country in the world. So imagine the kind of talent and opportunities that these people would be capable of producing if they are given the right opportunities. Instead, we say, oh, it is just a coincidence that these people are not featuring in any of our, popular culture or the most important or lucrative art and cultural productions and so on and so forth. We only talk about India. See, this is an argument that you get always. We only talk about India. We don't talk about caste. it is all Indians. It is nationalism. It is the idea of merit and so on and so forth. So what we need is bodies, institutions for mapping and pushing for caste representation in every field in India, like it is happening in many parts of the world in the West. In my country, to map the diversity. So I'm just finishing. So what I was saying is that even in Malayalam films, the change has not happened despite being a very sophisticated industry. Some changes are happening, but not nearly enough. So to conclude, what I'm trying to argue, borrowing from Ambedkar and borrowing from the things that we have seen recently in Tamil films specifically, some attempts are being made in Marathi. The huge Hindi film industry has still not seen this. Some changes in Malayalam, as I mentioned. So destroying caste is not just uplifting the oppressed caste. It is not about that. It is about liberating ourselves, the upper caste, from the labyrinth of caste, because they are the beneficiaries, the privileged who can do this to acknowledge what they have gained by this caste domination. This cannot be done by remaining silent about caste. The upper caste silence. It is very ironical. You are at the same time silent and you assert caste. It's a very dichotomous thing, right? That you say there is no caste discrimination, there's no caste domination. At the same time, you assert your caste wherever in other spheres, in marriage, in resistance to lower caste oppression, and so on. So these shifts in public culture, the public sphere, will enable to talk about the changes that are needed to annihilate caste. And to conclude with a couple of quotes of Ambedkar, which are very relevant. He says, caste has killed public spirit. Caste has destroyed the sense of public charity. Caste has made public opinion impossible. I hope that films like Jai Bhim and other films which are now, which I hope will start to gain momentum, will change this and make caste to not only to annihilate caste, but to what Ambedkar said, to make a society possible or a nation possible, you need to annihilate caste.
Thank you, Professor Mannathukkaren, for your insightful speech and address on the annihilation of caste and public culture. We got an insight into the possibilities of change in caste consciousness in the Indian society today. Thank you very much. Now, I'll request my friend Mr. Ravibabu to introduce the next speaker, Professor Kalpana Kannabiran. Please come in, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. It's my proud privilege to introduce Dr. Kalpana Kannabiran. Kalpana Kannabiran is a sociologist and legal scholar based in Hyderabad, India, whose work focuses on the intersections of constitutional studies, human rights, sociology, law, literature, gender studies, and social movements. A co-founder of Asmita Resource Center for Women, Secunderabad, set up in 1991. She taught in Dalhousie University of Law, Hyderabad, from 1999 to 2009, and was Regional Director, Council for Social Development, Hyderabad, from 2011 to 2021. A rights educator for communities in struggle, she has worked closely with social movements and advocacy groups over 3 decades on initiatives for legal and constitutional literacy. An independent human rights columnist, Dr. Kannabiran is recipient of the V.K.R.V. Rao Prize for Social Science Research in 2003 and the Amartya Sen Award for Distinguished Social Scientists in 2012, both awarded by ICSSR in recognition of her work in the field of interdisciplinary law. What I narrated above is a synoptic view of her work, and a more detailed and comprehensive understanding of her work. I urge the audience to visit website kalpanakannabiran.com. Anek Dhara is highly thankful to Dr. Kalpana Kannabiran for readily agreeing to participate in the webinar and address on the topic of citizenship, public dialogue, and the Constitution. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much to the entire into representation, right from the title to the content and the conclusion. And I think that the thoughts that Dr. Gnanavel shared with us were really very valuable also for my understanding of public culture. Dr. Mannathukkaren likewise has given us a very broad canvas of the public domain, public culture, including issues like reservations and untouchability and so on.
Dear viewers, profuse apologies for the interruption. Due to a technical glitch, complete speech of Dr. Kalpana Kannabiran could not be recorded. Link to the complete text of her speech is given below. It is also given in the video description given below. So please click the link on the video description.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful exposition. We understand how a fascist kind of approach can lead to a pernicious emphasis on fundamental duties, and how issues relating to fundamental duties are being violated by various segments of the society. When it comes to the citizen, it is expected that the fundamental duties have to be followed, and the accountability part which is missing, and also about how it is important as a citizen to speak truth to power. Thank you for helping us understand. Do you think movies such as these, like Jai Bhim, can disturb this unholy nexus, even if slightly? Maybe you respond.
Okay. What is the inspiration of the movies? That is, who hold one philosophy in his life. He didn't expect anything from thing. That Justice Chandru, when he was in advocate in the time, he fought he fight many cases like this. And when I was journalist, I asked him when he is going to take a oath in justice. So in the advocate last moment, I asked him which case it's very close to you. He mentioned this case. So after that, we chat a lot about this. So my inspiration is that left movement here. Will wait for that before sub-jails, especially because that is small jails in that part. So they are waiting that whoever the tribes, especially they are the prey for that unsolved case. This is a document that Human Rights Commission report. But why they are choose these people? That is the very, very important questions, because that caste, it's a very, very meager minority. That minorities, what kind of problems right now faced, we are know. But these people, it's a point that empower a little bit, or it's a very particular level improvement in their life. If one Dalit, if thought for this only we have, that many people migrated in terrain places in many years ago. That Irulas in that Western Ghats area, that field only. So that people here, even the Kannabiran sir appeared for one case in Irulas in Hyderabad High Court, because the Tirupati, that here some people arrest, the Irulas arrest, the Tirupati police and Tamil Nadu police exchange the prisoners, because they will, if here some activists come and get the things. But if it arrest the Tirupati, we don't know about where they are. That they are unappeared. That's abscond. That's it. So that in the time that Professor Kalyani, who is the activist for that Irulas community, so in Chandru's reference, I think he met that Kannabiran sir, and he helped that for that Irula community who arrested in Tirupati. So this is all we should tell these stories. This is untold stories here. But that means it is not happening that we're at 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers away. It is in Chennai, 100 kilometers surrounding. There are many villages have the lives in Irulas that people don't know about it. And we usually that here says that every villages have the two paths. One path is caste Hindus, another path is for the Dalits living area. And actually, in particular area in Tamil Nadu, that the three paths in the villages. One part is the caste Hindus, one part is the Dalit village. In after that, that leg bends or that another boundary of that village, in that place that live the Tirulas that are daily facing the problem. I face many others, sometimes in life, so that is I don't bother about it. So especially that they are driving forces in right-wing people. If you go that whoever against Jai Bhim movie, they are their slogan is Jai Shri Ram. In that wherever it is, that final the comment plays all those things. So that obviously that people will offend. I know that. Vention and multiple times will get that threat also. So it is expected. So I'm not surprised that, but I have that very safe land that where the many activists and judiciary people and good politicians. I know that I am very safe, so I'm not bothered about it, or I'm not worried about it. So, but I got it. And the third one is their own land patta. So that nothing can happen. They fight long way. But after this movie, that the CM take action here. Many people get that patta, and tribal people get pattas, and that even community certificate. That is the very keen here. Community certificate, because they can't prove that we are the tribe because they are in terrain. So, in terrain, the Tirulas community don't get the community certificate, ST certificate. So that's why they are denied that all education or any privilege in that reservations. So that will happen in those things. So I think in Tamil Nadu level, I'll get that many positivity, the changes from this, because I think that good government here, that they are, our chief minister listen to that this voice, and so they will give the order to that power engine. So the power engine, that good officers here, some good officers here, so they drive this order. And many people that I'm not telling just like that. Many activists called me. They are after that they are activists here waiting for this kind of moment. So they are solid. They'll give that all list whatever need that tribal people. They'll submit the government, and government react to that. So I think that these things, and moreover, it is what I think it's a very unexpected thing is the youngsters. I met many colleges. I went many colleges.
Impact a film like Jai Bhim could have in changing or breaking the nexus, which is evident in first Dr. Nissim and then Dr. Kannabiran, please.
Yeah, so so all popular cultural products eventually will have some effect. They may not be seen immediately, because changes are not going to happen immediately. Annihilation of caste is not going to take place in a day or two. These kind of products, cultural products, do is to change the narrative, change consciousness. As Dr. Gnanavel was saying, the college students, for example, they are not fully ideologically still formed. So he has done a very good thing in going and talking to them. I mean, this is the way you go, converse, have a dialogue, try to change. So these are so many people, many students, for example, would not have been aware of this, right? Like I watched it with my ideological element in the film for it to make some effect. So definitely it will change. Definitely it will make some changes. To the extent of these changes, we can only determine in the future. It can only become a wave when other films, other industries. I think my internet connection went off in between. I'm not sure for how long. I was saying Malayalam films have started addressing Dalit questions, but not as structurally, systematically as Tamil films. Although in the recent times there is a change, which is kind of a shame on the Malayalam films, which is supposedly the most sophisticated industry, at least they would like to claim in India, but they're not still talking about caste like Tamil films are doing. So that is, something that will have an impact. It will change people's consciousness, because the youth, the new generation is a global, generation. I mean, they are consuming popular cultural products from around the world. You are not cocooned in India only. Dr. Gnanavel is saying he does not know how much of impact it will make outside Tamil Nadu. It will make an impact outside Tamil Nadu because nowadays you watch films with subtitles, right? This is not something that was done before. Nowadays, when Tamil films, Malayalam films released, it is watched. They are watched all over India, like other films, like major. Earlier, this was a privilege only given to say Hindi films or Bollywood films. Now, movies are watched across the world, in no matter what languages. Like a South Korean film like Parasite became a big. It showed for example, the divisions in society, inequality in South Korea.
Try to say that the hero can just lift 2 mountains on 2 hands and hold the river. I mean, hold the 7 seas on his head. It doesn't say any of that. I mean, it actually takes you through the nuts and bolts of the judicial process and how difficult that is. And I think that is really, from my point of view, because I'm completely in a sense, obsessed with the domain of law, really engage with judicial process in that manner, because Tamil films, of course, but also Telugu films. I don't see too much of Malayalam films, but Tamil, Telugu for sure. Also a large extent Hindi films. There is a new kind of a hero. So corruption is taken as a given. The trope of corruption is taken as a given, and the concentration of corruption is in the state, in this anti-law, and is located in this individual superhero. And it's in a very, very peculiar way. If you look at leaders around us, except the most sensitive ones, you will see that life mimics cinema. So if you look at the performance of politics today, it mimics cinema in scale, in rhetoric, in dramatic effect, and all of that, and in vacuousness. Because in the whole superhero narrative, the superhero is, it's a told script. So to actually shift the scale from that kind of an expression, like looking at Chiranjeevi or Balakrishna, or any of the superheroes. Balakrishna and Chiranjeevi immediately come to mind because I saw something last night which I was aghast about. But you find them all over. So with their heft in the market, in the industry, and in terms of determining scripts, if a film like Jai Bhim has been able to erode that, I think that is the power of the film. That you are actually able to erode an extremely concentrated, hegemonic mainstream cinema by entering the mainstream that will be told. Having actually heard and seen torture victims for over 30 years, I know that these are not stories that will be heard and told in the public domain. They will be heard and told among the people who suffer harm and among the people who represent them. But to remove it from that domain and to put it in the public domain means that you have already shifted the terms of discourse. And I really think that the huge gain, it must create dialogue, debate. If it was a theater going audience, it would have been very different. I would have been very interested to see how a live audience in a theater, all watching it together, respond to this film is something that I was very interested in. But being on the OTT platform also puts it, makes it spread beyond imagination.
About the people, but police beating the front of them, the society will keep silence. So nobody is go and raise the voice for them. That brutality is that we are making conscious decisions for this. One is we are not using that music in that custodial area.
Yes.
If you watch, means we are consciously we are avoiding that area in that music. Usually, if you give the music, it will get that more things. That beating should hearing each and everybody. So if you give that music that area, it won't. Yeah, maybe it's smooth level. So consciously we didn't use that area movies. That beating because for us. So we should know that your ears should how it is possible. So we create that silence there, so that both silence are conflicting. But in so that's why that social brutality exposed for our society.
Thank
I
you.
just want to,
Yeah.
Madhu sir, if I could just quickly add to what Professor Kannabiran said. The other thing which was, most unique in this was that the superhero, right? I mean, superhero is only an ally. It is the focus is not on the superhero, the star,
Absolutely.
Surya, right? I mean, he is an ally for the cause. He is the main problem, as she was identifying, is that this one man, it is not even a woman, who can solve all the problems like we have in the country too, as politics is mimicking the films or popular culture. So the star receded to the background. So that is what is important, right? The story, the structure, the system, that has to be portrayed. It's not the star, which is what we do, the one person who can just demolish everything. And we have seen but here it's the star, the so-called star, is taking a back seat. Very important and well done.
Yeah, I'm actually I have to mention it. We have substantially overshot our timelines, but I'll group the remainder of the lot of questions into three, and I'd request our other speakers to give the quick take.
Speak about caste, and especially if we speak about discrimination and we speak about reservation, immediately the question of creamy layer pops up. And I think that this creamy layer business is really, I mean, sorry to use strong words, but I think it's a lot of nonsense. We never, for instance, when looking at the so-called general category, which is basically reservation for the upper castes, we never think of how many layers of educated people in a family. Then you want to knock the rest off by saying, okay, now the creamy layer will become operative. So second generation, third generation creamy layer. I think it's just a lot of nonsense. Because on the one, we have had predominantly Savarna benches right from the time the constitution was adopted till now. The ideologies of the upper castes will always reign supreme, and the creamy layer is an upper caste invention. And it is an upper caste invention to beat down. So any person from a reserved category who has literate or educated parents or parents in public employment at whatever level loses the claim to affirmative action because the parents have gained that claim. And I think that that is really rubbish. And I also say it's rubbish for a second reason, which is that none of us have any empirical information on how many people are there who qualify as creamy layer. How many people are there in the country who don't qualify as creamy layer? How do they want to determine? I mean, this is a question that was asked in my class when I was an open category post in the next rung. So if they were assistant professors, they applied for open category posts and the associate professors thing. And they got in. They said, if we get in, that is what we will take. They got in because they said that this post should be reserved, for somebody who is at the entry level. So we have no account of how many people do this. We assume that the minute you have entered public employment, you retire in a reserved category. That is simply not true. And we have not got any data, any information on how many people actually jump from the reserved category to the non-reserved to make place. So you don't even know what the creamy layer, how the creamy layer, so-called creamy layer or non-creamy layer conducts itself vis-a-vis reservations in particular sectors. So I think it's very opaque. There are just a lot of assumptions. And we really need to start looking at the facts and to interrogate our own assumptions And why is it that we think creamy layer?
This has been done to, they're not displaying, they're not giving it out to you. They're not releasing the data. Why? What does it mean? If the government is not releasing the caste data, the socio-economic backwardness associated with caste, they've already conducted the census, but they don't want to release the data. What does that mean? It means it will show you something which they don't want to show you, right? That historically the privilege has not eroded classes, then they would have shown you the data. They're not showing it. So socio-economic caste data is an absolute necessity. We need to do this, and we need to release the data. We need to do it in the future, because we think that by not talking about it, it will vanish. And by not talking about it, caste will be annihilated. Caste will not be annihilated if you don't talk about data. Policies need data. We need to know who is backward, right? Every country, every developed democratic country, every developed democratic country in the world does this. You need to have data about.
The first is on the issue of caste, whether caste can be annihilated. Arundhati Roy has stated that this can happen. This can't happen unless those who call themselves revolutionary develop a radical critique of Brahmanism, and those who understand Brahmanism sharpen their critique of capitalism. And finally, it can't happen unless we read Baba Saheb Ambedkar, if not inside our classrooms, outside them. Is this a valid prescription? And the last question is about what Dr. Ambedkar himself had said, that the caste system is not merely a division of labor, it is also a division of laborers. It would seem caste, like gender, is of essence, and class is only an analytic, in the sense that it is not, there is no simple manifestation in reality in the Indian society. How much did caste contribute to blocking the progress of the Indian leftist movement? So the first is about annihilation of caste.
The entire public domain, education, politics, every part of it, entertainment, every part of it has been actually completely captured by the dominant castes and the majoritarian dominant castes. And as long as as long as there is no movement that can actually articulate the the overthrow of that dominance, it is going to be difficult. But I'm saying that however difficult it is, I really don't think we have a choice. It is something that has to be done. How it will be done, what is, will it be done in my lifetime? I don't know. But it just has to be done. And I think that every one of us, at least of the three of us sitting here, every one of us does our work in the belief that it will be done. Later, maybe not sooner, but it has to be done. So
that's not how it works on the ground. So for all these reasons, so caste and class has to go together. And to come back to what Dr. Gnanavel was saying before and about the film, I mean, red, blue, and black, right? I mean, it has to be intersectionality that is mixing of different oppressed marginalizations coming together and fighting for justice. It can't be just sectional. It can't be one segment alone, just class or caste. It has to be gender. It has to be sexuality, minority sexualities, minority genders, and so on and so forth. I mean, it is about democracy and justice, which has to include as many oppressed categories of the world's population in different places of the world. So that has to be the reality, which as a caste activist, he's also talking about socialism. He's also talking about trying to meld caste and class. It's that he didn't get enough response or very cold response from the communist movement, right? So it's not
fight for. You have the right opinion about caste is how important to discuss and how discriminate that our society thinks. So that's even the left lawyer fight for this because the caste that people getting arrested. So that's why I put that name for Jai Bhim. The communists should come there. That point. then only they will get that people organizations, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Gnanavel and Professor Kannabiran, Professor Mannathukkaren. I'll now we've actually had a very, very enlightening discussion and covering our ambitious scope, which we set out by combining the vision of Ambedkar and the provisions of the Indian Constitution and what the provisions of the Indian Constitution and what the film Jai Bhim.
I thank Mr. Gnanavel, Professor Mannathukkaren, and Professor Kannabiran for bringing to us and elaborating the work of Sri Bhimrao Ambedkar and elaborating his concepts to a larger audience. And I'm grateful for this opportunity, for being able to bring it to all of you. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we did in bringing it to you. Thank you.